Yeah.
Okay. Calling this meeting to order on Wednesday, July 1st at 7:03. And we can start with roll call. Allison Miller.
James Whitesides.
Elizabeth Saul.
Colin Forsythe. Simon Farrell.
Drew Falk.
Amanda Taub.
Right. And next we can review the June 3rd minutes. I have not really reviewed them, but if anyone else is ready to make a motion, feel free.
I move to approve the planning commission minutes dated June 3rd, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Great. So first up,
We're gonna give you an update on the content update.
with a aggressive timeline. Let's hear all that.
Yes. All right, so as far as just the comprehensive plan, we should have a draft with addressing public, agency, everyone's comments. And your input, they've all been reviewed and considered. Not everything is changing, but those that really did need a change, or we could change without further studies or reports be addressed. We do have some spreadsheets that document that we can provide you at the next meeting, or not next meeting, ahead of the next meeting to review, just so you kind of know how we address them. And break that down, but the goal is to have the draft in the next 2 weeks completed and still try to move forward with at least a hearing. There's no formal adoption, you can still recommend changes, but we want to be able to have a recommendation to go move forward to the council. The goal would be to have them adopt the comp plan, but have an effective date of December 31st. And that's because the development regs are actually not within 6 months of adoption, but they're due ending. So that's why we've got a super tight timeline right now. We've gone through 60-day review with Commerce and SEPA for the comp plan, but not for the development regs, which means we have to have all the code written and a draft done for 60-day review. So basically in October, Commerce for initial review. It can change, just like we submitted our initial draft of the comp plan to Commerce back in March or April. So it doesn't have to be in a like final approved format. It's just something for them to review, see that we're on the right track and not missing anything. Game was over if they want. Sorry, I know you guys wanted to know. Okay, so yeah, so now I'll focus. Yes, we can all focus. And so that was kind of it was a change from last year. We were under the impression that we had 6 months from adoption to adopt our dev regs. When they adjusted the time frame for, because we were originally supposed to adopt in June of this year, and they pushed out the timeline for adoption of the comp plan, they did not push out that timeline for development. So that's where that led to some confusion. I know there's some other jurisdictions that didn't quite get the memo either. It wasn't very clear. So we're trying our best, and we're working with our consultants and kind of trying to figure out what exactly we have to get done, what's state mandated, and then also what can we tackle that we might be able to plug in and add to address some of the things that we've been working on. So, for example, there's some parking code that we have to address for state law this year for residential driveway standard, but we also have some of our parking things that we might be able to work through. It's definitely not in a state of perfection by any means, but I think we could probably get there with Beaslove and some of our parking counts to make them more realistic. And then, so I guess back up, I did put in a timeline here of kind of our goals. We plan to take the pros plan in July. We still hope to have our comp plan hearing. We still hope to have the hearing go to council in September and get adopted, but with that adopt that final effective date in December. And keep moving forward with dev regs. That also includes our rezoning, which has to be adopted if it to comply, to be in compliance with comp. And the new public zoning for some of those, publicly zoned properties, so it's creating 2 new zones. So I think that's gonna be kind of a big tackle, we just wanna make sure we're looking at, and we'll talk a little bit about R3 later tonight, about what you guys want for potential setbacks, lot coverage, national standards, things like that, and uses, we wanna align them with what's allowed in R6, and keep it easy. We're just realizing there's a lot more, there's definitions that need to be updated, and you fix a definition here, you fix it where it is in the code, so. It doesn't seem like a lot, when we look at it, but it's quite a bit of work. But our goal is to bring to you things that, you can weigh in on, if there are things that are just very state law. I wanted to kind of get a vibe check of where you're at, if it's just we need to change the subdivision code from 5 years to 7 years. Obviously, that's gonna come to your hearing, but we don't need to discuss all that, we just provide the packet of these sort of changes, but if there's things we need to discuss, those would be the topic for. That makes sense, so some of the state law changes are state mandated, I waste a lot of time.
Yeah, I did bring, so there's like the co-living though is kind of, that is a state mandate, but I thought you might wanna look at the wording. And so that's why I brought it to you, and I can send it via email too, so that Drew and Amanda have it.
Yeah, that was right in
Yeah.
the packet.
Yeah, well, I just did that yesterday, so that's why you hadn't seen it yet.
So yeah, I guess any comments on the proposed timeline that was in your packet? We're hoping to then have our development rights hearing in November. And then have everything adopted by December. If we don't adopt by December, then we lose grant funding opportunities, both us and public works, so it's really important to get through it. And I think then we have a really clear, next year we have to update our critical areas regulations, that's gonna be a big deal, but I think we can also work through some of these things that are really important that we want to tackle, like the CUPs and oh gosh. Other stuff. We have Louis Code, we're working through, do a really awesome training, and Chad has a lot of great information that we can take back and I think to make us more robust as a group, so.
So, you mentioned a lot of this, there's like the 60 days notice, is that before the city council hearing?
Yeah.
So.
Or before we can adopt, so
It's
before we
yeah.
can adopt.
Okay, so the hearings can happen at any time within that 60 days. But we have to make sure that the hearings happen before December 31st. Well, so this timeline is basically just saying like to adopt it by December 31st. We're just working backwards from there, and the 60 days is built in.
Yeah.
So it's not like it has to be.
We have 60 days on our, and like for October.
I was making sure that wasn't like hearing, like from a hearing.
No.
That we
No, it's from adoption.
Or, okay,
So like if we put, so we look
and we
at,
don't have to have even we have to have a draft for the notice, but we can modify.
Yes,
Okay.
as long as it's not huge modifications,
Right.
yeah, because I mean, obviously, our comp plan has been modified since we did it for
Yeah.
60 years ago.
Okay.
So,
We just have to have a decent draft by
Yeah.
October, late October.
and so our consultants are working on SEPA. And
oh, and they're doing some of this, so the mobile home section, because that's kind of a big undertaking. And, yeah, we've kind of divvied it up between our consultants and us, so.
yeah,
And if we
they
get it done.
have more time. And so we pushed some of the more complicated. More time consuming sections on them. If you, I think at our last meeting, when I gave you that packet, that was kind of, it broke down kind of like. What we have to tackle, development wise.
That's in our last.
That was in our last packet. I can pull it up here too, but, I was hoping like after tonight, I could just send you a whole bunch of information.
Yeah.
It's also in the online, if you go to last month's packet on the website, you can pull it. But there's a checklist of all the, everything you have to tackle. And unfortunately, just some of them are old, like the manufactured home code is from the eighties, and so. And
Right, so manufactured homes, yeah, I would say how much. Beyond A, B, C, D on this agenda. Like how many more things do you expect require?
there's a lot
A lot
of
of
little
work,
things, but for you guys, I'm thinking, we'll want your input on some of the stuff they're working on.
Some of it's like just making sure, like today we were messing around with the definitions and once you change one thing like co-living and then, but then you realize that there's a lot of spider webs into the code of like co-living and what is the
Sleeping units.
sleeping units and
Yes.
and things
I
that.
saw that.
You need to change those and
Yeah.
it just, it takes you kind of down a rabbit hole, which is very time consuming. And frustrating, so there's a lot of that, that's like it's not necessarily like large overhauls of the whole code, some of it is, but some of it's just trying to figure out like where all these little parts are and that they all need to match, and it's.
So we changed one
Difficult.
thing of co-living and then we're like, oh, they
Oh,
have
no.
sleeping units, but then we use the term sleeping units and then
Yeah, so we need to
Thank
change
And now
that,
today,
yeah.
we got working on
When I looked up the demo, I was like, can
Yeah.
we define this as we do? And then I looked it up and I was like, I have no idea.
And
No,
Oh,
we
can
define it as this. We need to change that, or so we're gonna add something that's like guest, what do we, guest room, I think we,
we're working through it.
Yeah,
That was one thing, as you're
Yeah.
today,
we're changing that.
And the co-living parking thing is way less than our current parking for units of sleeping, however we define it. And
This whole-
That's right, that's a
It's in the
requirement,
RCW.
yeah, for.
so we just have to.
You
have to.
Okay, got it, okay.
Yeah.
And that, will that be like the one thing that allows that, but everything else will have our normal parking
Yeah.
requirements? Okay, good.
Yeah.
We followed the recommendations, but then as we were digging into their recommendations, we're like, well, that's not defined in our. District use chart, so
Yeah.
I'm trying to like minimize kind of, remember we talked about with our district use chart, we wanna reduce the number of items that and kind of like merge them into
Yes.
groups. And then I saw in their parking counts, it says, what was it,
55.
well, we'll get into that, but there were two things that sounded the same, but had different parking requirements. One was exercise, or.
Oh, athletic facility and exercise facility or something like that, which you're like, how is that different?
But I don't have a copy of that book, the transportation.
ITE parking generation manual.
Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
yeah,
They could find
I
that,
think I have an old one downloaded somewhere.
so I was trying to look that up and then, anyway, so that, I guess what I'm saying is. We're gonna be bringing a lot to you. I don't think we need to have multiple meetings, because I don't think we have enough time to prep for those and make it worth anyone's while. So I think now that we know the timeline that we're in and that we have to be there. We're kind of adjusting our workloads to accommodate, and we're adjusting our, coordination with, BHCR consultants to make sure that it's done, so. It just might be a lot thrown at you, but we'll really try to limit like what you actually need or put on versus what's just state law. We'll still bring it to you to say this is required and we want you to look at it, but we really can't change anything, but this will. Cool.
Sounds good.
Okay. So for tonight, I'm only here till 8 o'clock, and I wanted to chat with you about E&B and parking code updates first, and then. If I have to leave, Celeste's gonna talk co-living with you, and that's what she brought in today, and then we just wanted to pick your brain on the R3 zone, so we have. A clear idea and picture of where you wanna go with that, so we can bring you a draft.
we'll bring that next time, that's the goal. Oh, man, maybe not. Well,
Yeah.
we'll see.
Where
Do you still have that cool overlay map that you created?
We have that plus our draft
You
map.
know what, I was gonna bring that, let me go get it. the map, we were gonna bring that down,
I
but
mean, it was like over a year
Zoning
ago,
map.
you had something that was really cool that you were trying to show city council like last year. Something like that, that was like all of the, what would become R3, which would actually just be reverting back to R3.
Yeah.
Does that still available?
We have both.
Okay.
New comp plan shows that overlay, where the zone is going, and then I still have that other map that shows like this was Brownston, and this was all the different.
Yep.
And we even have some slides from even before that that talked about like the minimum lot sizes of each. Yeah, so I think that would really help push like, even with SEPA, it's not really changing the lot sizes from what they originally were over. And so, that's really helpful. I think where we're gonna run into problems is some of the recommendations is to align with, to reduce barriers to housing is to increase our height, which we just reduced. In response to, community feedback, some community feedback, but I think it's something we need to look at least some of the more dense areas for infill. And provide options, even, I guess we'll dig into that, but even like step backs, like where if you're within this close to a property line. I don't know how to address it because people worry about it, they needing sunlight and if you have a towering structure next to a smaller house in a historic neighborhood, how that impacts their accessibility to light. So just things to consider, but that's something we want to talk about is it with this R3 zone. What would be the goal for this infill kind of development? And we would need, they are smaller lots, we need to probably reduce setbacks and allow for lot coverage and increase heights. Or some of those things to accommodate that growth that you're looking for. It's not, yeah.
Do we, that is gonna be really hard to fit into a small number of conversations.
I know.
In small time.
Well, and, or even if we wanna start small, like, hey, we were gonna start our zone, it's gonna have these parameters and maybe not so extreme, but it.
One of our primary purposes was to bring houses out of
Not compliant,
compliance.
but it also.
It brings lots into developable lots into compliance.
Right,
Yeah,
like the
yeah.
initial start was very, it doesn't have to, we can even constrain the zones
Yeah, good.
to exist, like. We don't want to paste it everywhere, right? So we could just be
Right.
very targeted and
Like.
we're not gonna see a ton of churn on the park, right? Like. Changing those to make them compliant would just help people renovate or make changes to their structures. It wouldn't lead to like 1,000 new R3. Nothing, but I mean, it's still.
Because R3, it will only be like an infill zone, essentially.
Or if you had like multiple underlying lots and you wanted a boundary line adjust, this would now let you maybe make one that doesn't have to be 60 on lot.
Right, like the motors weren't lot for me, they'd be able to split it into actual lot.
Maybe you wanna keep all that the same as the R6, but maybe the minimum lot width is not 60 feet, it's 30 feet. Because there's no way you're gonna make an R3 zoning and housing people.
Yeah, well, the 3 is for 3,000. so
Yeah,
none
and
the
most of
lots
those
are-
original lots were 30, so that would make sense, but you're kind of going back to that original, so. Yeah,
Here's a draft zoning map. I think you guys have all seen this. I know people online can't see it, but.
it's in the comp plan.
Oh, we do have this. So it's just all this area that has, was plotted in what, 1904 or something. A long time ago. So,
Yeah, so
I don't know if you guys can see that. I'll hold it up, but you probably can't. So.
But this is something we can do a lot of outreach when we do like our
This here.
party, things like that. From our side of things and try to get outreach to you, and especially if that's the direction you wanna go, and it's probably smart. Be like, hey, this was a recommendation to reduce barriers to allow for additional housing options in a historic area that was originally like. Mostly. Less than 60-foot wide lots and less than 6,000 square feet, and so to accommodate that, we're proposing this. And I think just having some. Points there to, and I mean, even here, it's like they show you pictures of how that could look, and Park Avenue is a great example of those 30-foot wide lots, and they all have a house and an ADU, or they're not enormous. Like,
Yeah.
but they fit, they do meet setbacks. And I guess if we kept that all the same, just change the minimum lot width, because that's unattainable. That would be really the only thing you'd have to change.
Cause we already have that, if you have a 30-foot lot, then you have a 5-foot side setback on a corner, right? So you can, yeah. Cause that's the only like major setback issue.
Yeah. So that's already addressed, and now that we allow the covered porches in the front yard, they can have that front porch and that 7 feet for encroachment. And that will be allow alley access for a lot of these infill lot, they
I think
also
that's
have
a good
alley
one.
access. And now with unit lot subdivision. You could split off the back and have alley access for one and front with the other, so there's a lot of options for, and I think this is just a small tool that.
You know, I'm less inclined to mess with setbacks.
Yeah.
Like.
I just was saying that was,
Stuff. Totally, yeah, I'm just. Voicing
yeah,
my take is. You know, especially for now, and to see how it goes, like we can change it down the line if.
Yeah.
We feel like that's the limiting factor, makes sense, but. My initial instinct is not to mess with setbacks.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the only setback that could change, cause you can't change the 5-foot side setback, so it's like.
Yeah, that's the big one.
That's building.
That's building code, yeah. Then, yeah, you would want to, but, front setbacks are very tricky because a lot of those zones, that the street width's very wide.
Right.
And a lot of the older homes are well over the front setback because the streets are so wide. And so reducing the front setback would be something to consider, except then I feel like you get into this awkward, like, it's almost street by street. And like Cedar Street is an 80-foot right of way, which is
Yeah.
bonkers. And that's why like the new houses are like ridiculously far from the street, because there's like 30 foot of right of way that's like your front yard. But then there are other streets where like to reduce it to a 15 or 20 foot front setback would not be appropriate.
right,
So I'm like, I don't know if we can change that. I think you have to change the right of way, not change the front setback necessarily.
yeah.
Who controls that right away, like could
City.
change that?
City.
Yeah, city could vacate it. I was trying to get people on Cedar Street, I was like, you guys need to band together and ask
Yeah.
this to be vacated, so get it down to like 60 feet like a normal right of way.
Yeah,
But
that could make.
I don't know, that's a complicated process.
It is complicated.
And they're getting less and less. Likely to vacate. Right away.
Right, because the city wants options, they wanna be able to.
Yeah. Like maybe they
Put the
want
street where they wanna put the street.
maybe they want that right away to put a
Green space,
green space in the middle of the road.
like trees in the middle of the road.
Yeah, Cedar could become like a,
Peter's.
Giant.
like a
Yeah.
Ramla, like a Ramla, it's their walkway down the middle.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah, that'd be pretty.
That's your first thing.
It's a big deal.
It's not Barcelona though.
It's in the record now, it's else instead it's gonna.
Yeah.
I'm not certain.
Chairman of the planning commission says this is our.
I think there's been times where we have done vacation and then hindsight, 4 years later, you're like, why did we vacate that?
Oh, really?
Well, there are alleys that got vacated,
Yeah,
there's that with pickups.
Questionable.
My house.
It's true.
Yeah. So,
Questionable thinking.
Road mark.
Yes.
So I think the idea is, it's, yeah.
yeah,
It allows for more options in the future.
Cedar Street is really the outlier too. Most of them were like 60 feet and you're like, oh, it's reasonable.
And that is the standard, the 80 is not a standard, so.
Yeah.
Discussion.
Yeah, you can't be like Cedar Street, there's a special zone with a 15-foot front setback.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't really work, so.
So I did, just to quickly dig into the B&D language, I should pull up the OFM. This sounds clunky, but I'm using the language straight from the OFM. I might have. The estimate just came out, this was like their estimate that I was supposed to share with anyone, and they just came out today, July 1st, so I haven't the website, so that's why this was not in your packet, because I wasn't supposed to share anything. But every July 1st, OFM publishes their population estimates based on census data, plus we have to report our annual permit count to them every year, and our permit counts is how many permits were issued, but also how many are in final. So they get an actual count of final resident permits. So the idea here was to, instead of using the code 11 from the assessor's records, to use the current OFM population estimate specifically for the 1-unit housing units. And the 1-unit housing units, the way we have to report those is even an ADU, if it's attached, it's still a 1-unit housing unit, the way we have to report it.
But
Because
it's detached ADUs, second housing.
they're all 1 unit, like they're all reported as 1 unit, so like it gets you.
The
A
only
population-
ADU would be two
a
separate
housing
units, right?
Unless you split unless you do subdivision, then it'd be 2 units.
But
Yeah.
So
ADU is a 1
Part of
unit.
the
Unit, it's hard to explain, so
The lot is the determining factor, right?
So it used to be that I would report, like, if somebody came in for a building permit, and it was a house with an interior ADU, I would report it as 2 units, because they're 2 dwelling units. But it's really like I report it now as 2 separate single units. Not attached, because it's not a duplex, now they want you to report those as. Duplex as 2 units.
So any dwelling unit,
Yes.
accessory or otherwise.
As a unit.
It's a unit.
So like I have an ADU, so I have to.
Yeah, so that would be,
Single
yeah,
units.
Yeah, 2 single.
so
So
I
if you have a house and 2 ADUs, then you have 3.
Yeah, pretty.
But there's, okay, so it's single.
And
unit.
triplex is also three.
Okay.
Yeah, so my unit counts that I use through OFM, these are 1 unit reporting. So I reported, like, in the last 6 years, I've reported 68 additional units. And I heard, and two units, so we must have done 2 duplexes over the last 6 years. I'll have to think about those.
Oh.
We don't do the graph.
Oh, I see. So it's reported as 1 unit and 2 unit.
Yeah,
3 unit. Okay.
yeah, but this was in for last year, but it's not final yet, so this is only final. And this is based on like accurate data, like data I'm submitting to them, so they do a census and then it's an annual reporting that I'm sending to them based on what is actually happening. For housing counts. I think this is the most, I mean, nothing's gonna be perfect. But to me, this would be the more accurate way to report our residential housing counts that for B&Bs, because I think
Are you counting multifamily in there?
I'm not going to, because it would get. If you count that, you can't do a B&B in multifamily.
Yeah.
Well, you can't, you can do it in the multifamily zone if you have a single family home. But you cannot do it in a multifamily, you have to, because it has to be occupied. Duplex.
No, if it's owner occupied, no, so if it's condos.
Then those would be counted as independent when they go through a process, we give them a zoning change that are like battery changes too, so they report those as individual units too.
But I guess what if I
I like it gets,
own a triplex, and then one of the units you couldn't do a whole nother unit.
The other units are not accessory to the main, so exact, so
Right.
I think that, is that
So
right? So it's
But
like.
like if you had,
Couldn't
if you
be
were like,
its own unit, you can only
Yeah.
be.
but you can be a room in your house.
It has to be on the same lot.
if you own it, you
So
own
if
that
you
triplex unit,
So,
it's owner occupied.
so that means that really what we're saying is it's the 4% of the total permitted housing stock where B&Bs would be permitted. Is that the denominator? That's a different
So
denominator.
you're counting every single family housing
Really
unit.
different to some standard.
It actually, I mean,
That's very different than what it's, how it's written.
well, the way.
Well, but I understand that
It was calculating correctly, we were calculating properties, wetlands with no house, so. With the code.
So it's zoning.
So it looks different than, I guess, the intent of the code, which I wasn't a part of writing.
So 4% of all single.
You
And
could say residential housing stock,
Where B&Bs would be permitted,
Yeah.
like
See, but
eligible, like
Yeah.
eligible for B&B conversion.
But the way we wrote it was the total housing stock permitted within the residential zoning district.
Right, that's.
So how, so
It's
that's
really
like, how
different.
can you exclude multifamily? I don't know, it's not saying the total housing stock that could accommodate that.
Yes.
Yeah, it's the total housing stock. And
It's
And
gonna
I
go, then we'll have to, I mean, it's gonna, if we do it that way, then we can't use this process because this doesn't account for the zone. That it's in,
well, but
cause we have housing stock, that's in commercial zones. So, we're back to just using code 11, I guess.
so, okay, so that counts single family homes. And ADUs, it doesn't count.
In residential zoning.
I could count duplexes. Cause it has to be a close,
Well, because you could, triplex could be on one lot. And you could be owner occupied
if,
one of the units. If-
Well, I think about, I know a triplex that, my cousin owns with a couple other people.
Yeah.
With the street,
I
and,
think you rent out room.
Carlin she doesn't live in one of them, but the friends that they share ownership with do have a primary in one of them. And this would be exactly what Allison said, if they would like to rent out one bedroom in their thing, they should be able to
In their
apply.
dwelling.
In the
Yeah.
one that they own, in the one that they is their primary,
Yeah,
that it makes sense that they would be
Yeah.
allowed to do that.
yeah. It does.
Then it would then be counted in the housing stock.
so I don't know.
But they wouldn't need the parking.
Excellent.
What's the
Would
difference?
they have alley access? Maybe they could. Yeah. We gotta get fenced alley access, but still it's. Do something. Give it great. You're great. You created.
Yeah, the total housing stock. Permitted.
So the assessor's code 11 was single family residential, so it didn't include.
It didn't include
multifamily.
Okay, and we need to include all zoning where single family residential is in existence in Leavenworth.
We're
Inside the city.
okay. Can you explain assessor code 11 if you're online, Amanda? Out hear me?
I don't know, I know she was,
She's there.
She's fine.
there, but yeah.
There, she unmuted, yay.
I'm here. I have a really crappy, really crappy connection, so I don't know if I'll, how long I'll be in before it craps out on me again. So what was the question?
So what's the assessor code 11, when they used to use it, like, it was supposed to be for like a single family unit, correct? Like it was, if it was a multifamily property, it wouldn't be zoned code 11, correct?
No, multifamily is 12, 13, 14, 15, and sometimes they didn't use, sometimes they use 15 or 16. Those were the multifamily codes. The 11 was specifically for single family.
So even a duplex would be under a different code.
Yes, a duplex would probably be under a 12. And the 12 was considered 2, 3, or 4 units.
I really should have said living.
And.
I don't exactly remember the 15 and 16, what those were, but I think they might have been apartments. I'm not positive. But yeah, 12 was between 2 and 4 units.
Well,
Thanks, Amanda, that helped.
But you're saying that like. They're undeveloped properties that have the same land use code. Yeah, so like. Undeveloped lot on Poplar. Land use code 11, so it was counting that as one.
Of a housing stock.
Yeah. So, okay, I don't know about Chelan County, but Douglas County assessors were inconsistent in using the undeveloped versus single family. Because we also had a lot of ag lands. So then we also had the ag lands. So I don't know how consistent the Chelan County assessors were in using their codes.
Yeah, we don't like.
Yeah, because like I just looked up, I was like, oh, Church of the Nazarene, that's like in a residential zone. How is that coded? And some of their parking lot is code 11, some of it is 46, which is parking.
And then the adventure park is undeveloped land range.
Oh my
Which is my
gosh.
favorite one.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's confused, so let's like move
Fine.
on from that.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanna use all housing.
Well,
I
it's
really
just-
don't think that was the intent.
Yeah, if we said in there, if in the original code it says 11, then that means that the intent was not multifamily housing, correct? So,
No, but we said total housing stock permitted within the residential zoning districts. So that is really tricky because we have housing stock in commercial districts.
and we have yeah. And we have lots that don't have
And I
the
think,
Nazarene.
I think the reason we didn't include commercial, because those could be nightly rentals, and so.
Right.
The residences are not a permitted use, so you can't do a B and B in a commercial zone,
Right.
you can only do an SDR.
But okay, so going back to using the like housing, the single unit counts. The issue with that is that it does not include multifamilies, like it just doesn't count that, like how.
So
But
it's
still,
really
it breaks
broken.
it, it breaks it out, so you
It's
could,
broken down, so
we could do 1 and 2 unit, or we could do.
1 and 2, but then. Does it have 3 and 4, like how
Then it has 3 and 4. And it has 5 or more,
no, it's 5.
and we get, and it has manufactured home, we have to do it, say, not that.
Yeah. But so we don't have a way to use that data and exclude. The commercial zones.
Would we need to, because the commercial zones are already available for overnight rentals by default, because they're in the commercial zone, so does the B and B need to apply to anything in the commercial zone, even though that is housing stock?
Well, that's what I'm saying is I don't know how to exclude it from that data.
What they wanted was to really look at just our residential zone, and we wanna limit in our residential zone only 4% within that area. We don't want it to become.
Bleed over to,
Right. But the housing counts, if you go to like 4 or more, 5 or more, it's counting like all the commercial condos.
and you said we could use 1 and 2, and just leave out 3 and 4 and 5 or more.
So, let's see, right?
It's that word. But I'm still stuck on this, it says like total housing
I
stock.
still think you're gonna have a really high number and so a lot.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you use.
Okay.
However, the
So if we
calculation
only go
was.
to the like 1 and 2. Then where are we at? What would 4% be?
That's what I'm gonna calculate right now. Nice, I'm gonna stop sharing, is that okay? Oh, will you guys discuss, as I'm doing this? I didn't know what to do with the county, because they can't use the same data, because this is they just look at the whole county, and there's no way to extrapolate that to PGA residential.
Then I think what you wrote seemed really broad, but it also makes sense if the county has to use their data, we have to default that portion to them.
I just, and the way I wrote it was like, they have to determine it. However they determine it.
Yeah, I don't know how they just approved, or they just went to the hearing seminar, and I actually asked the planning what they did, but I haven't heard back. I was curious.
Yeah, it's not sure for that, but you know. Calculator and.
Okay, has the county actually adopted our B and B code?
Yeah. They did, yeah, they did use it for, she used it, she called me and asked me for the code section so she could reference it herself. Yeah. She did use it.
Okay,
Sorry,
but that gets its own,
they count their own quarters.
they get their own 4%.
They do,
So,
I mean,
I
I
feel
feel
like-
like it calculates it, like, I'll find out though.
So I feel like for number two, for ours. You have to also clarify that it's 4% of the housing stock within city limits. Within the city limits residential zoning districts. Because you're counting the UGA separately.
I think the second paragraph talks about for the UGA, within the UGA, they calculate it.
Yeah.
Maybe we just let them figure it out.
They'll,
Oh, okay, yeah.
The
Yeah,
I-
you're right, then you covered.
Within the city limits, yeah.
the requirement of replacing is just the max of 4%. Then they have to calculate against that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
I'm trying to not
Do
like
that
overly
for them.
complicate things.
Yeah, they can, I mean, they figured it out, they brought on the hearing. They didn't ask me how to calculate it, so. They could, it says to use this under code 11, so that's probably what they did, but
It's like in the staff report,
I don't know.
or how, like, where does it say? That wasn't,
It says using the same criteria.
oh.
That's what it says right now, uses it, but if we change the way we do it, they might not be able to use the same criteria. So it's gonna be one to figure out how they calculate it.
I think it's fine, I mean, with 4%, the accuracy is not
No. Yeah.
super critical. If it's close,
And UGA is not a lot of housing stock.
not, no. And it's easy to count, one per lot.
Okay, so if I count 1 unit, 2 unit and manufactured homes. That's about 940 based on the current data, and 4% of that is like 37.6. So we round up to 38. And what are we at right now? I mean, we're at like 31.
Okay.
And but I think using code 11, we're really close to that too, but I think this is more accurate.
And even if we were to be off by 8%, it would only increase by that number by 1 point something small, so it's not really, I mean. I'm trying to like get way out on both sides of this, we're talking about one permit, maybe 1.2 permits. If
Well-
we were off by 4% either way,
Unless it's the difference of counting like all of Autumn House.
but those aren't possible to be B and B, right, so that.
It says-
All, I saw,
Housing stock.
I also thought that and was like, boy, that's a lot of, that's 300.
That is a residential district and it is part of the housing stock, so that's like,
What's our rate of application right now?
Process 3 this year or 4 this year.
And we processed 8 or so the year before. Or at some point, no,
I'm saying if you counted Autumn House, so it's how many units?
130.
So you'd be adding,
Be adding 8 more additional slots.
I don't think, I think the ones where I knew they shouldn't be code 11, I pulled out.
But do we get occupancy rates from Autumn House as well, because I know that they've
It's
paused,
very small.
yeah, I know that they've paused 2 future projects and put them on hold for at least 12 to 24 months because of their occupancy here.
Oh yeah, we get occupancy
So-
rates for each of these too.
So I mean, like, if we're gonna say all
Right, so-
residential units, occupancy rates at rented units like that would be a huge number to have. Because they might have X amount of units, but how many of them are actually?
Yeah, but I think availability of the unit is more important than the occupancy.
That's fair. So,
And here we're split, we're looking at like how many of these units could be B and Bs, and of the houses that could be B and Bs, 4% be more limited to 4%.
Yeah.
Then,
yeah,
It was originally intended to Jackson and like dwellings.
yeah, no, but this change, the 4% cap was
Yeah.
intended for that.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say the intent was that it was 4% of the properties that could be a VB. That's not quite how it works.
It's not house diversions. So how would you recommend it be reworded? Well, because I agree, it is plenty.
I would say specifically for 1 and 2 unit housing units and manufactured homes, we need to specify that.
I would like to, because I would automatically include it, yeah, our unit, but somebody new, I want it to be very clear.
Yeah. That's right. I still am like, there's no perfect way to do this, because the perfect way to do it would be you actually count the number of units in the residential zones. And that would be.
There's not.
But the 4% is a
There's not
policy
way to do that.
anyway, so it's just
Yeah.
I mean, it's an approximation
Yeah.
and that's. Have to be okay.
And there is, we are
Consistent.
counting some single family homes that are in commercial zones with this. So you're adding a few, if you're losing a couple hundred.
It's still coming out
Yeah.
about this thing,
But it's
I
not
don't think it's
huge.
changing it that much.
Yeah.
But I think it's more consistent, and I feel more.
I think
Comfortable.
consistency might
Yeah.
be the goal.
Because this comes
I
out,
agree.
it's gets released by OFM, and it's based on census data and us, our actual.
It feels a lot better than accessory.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And so I trust this data, I mean, it's not perfect, but I trust it. And so I think since we did this every July 1, we can
Perfect.
update that 4% every July.
Nice,
Cool.
I like it,
wonderful.
Great idea.
make it simple.
But thank you for talking through that with me, man. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I definitely read that and.
I mean, is there OFM data for the UGA? Or
No.
so that's why we can't.
I really think we should leave it up to the county to say, okay, they can calculate their 4% in the county.
What's hard is they.
Or they can calculate their number and
Yeah.
4% of that number is that's what we're asking for.
I don't think we need to do that for
I love that.
They can figure.
They can figure it out.
I mean, that's how they use this OPM data for their STR.
They're doing something right now.
Their calculations in the whole county, they use OPM.
Oh, but it doesn't separate it out by UGA.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it just is by county, like.
Or it's actually by, I think it's something to do with zip codes or.
Yeah,
They
I don't know
don't
how the county
know.
gets it, but they don't get one, I called Rena last week to ask about. How they might calculate this, and so I was trying to. She would, I mean, I called like last week and, she did talk to.
I don't think it matters.
I just wanted to make sure we had buy-in, did they have to adopt this, and I'd rather, oh, yep.
Hey, so I do believe that the census does do population counts within UGAs. That is part of the information that they do release, but I don't know if they are updated yearly as part of the ACS. It may be only part of the 10-year decennial census. But I know I downloaded that data for Douglas County. I just don't know how updated they do.
So.
I also don't know how accurate there was so much problems with the last census. So, I mean, that's really a hard accuracy really took a hit.
In 2020.
Yeah, because of COVID and such.
Yeah, so anyway, trying to use the most reliable available data. I have even like 10 minutes. But I just wanted input on, because That's why I did not draft code at all for parking, because I just wanted input and I wanted, so I could get going on trying to plug some stuff in. Did anyone have a chance to review the memo from Transport Group?
Yes.
I've only been able to scan it.
I know, I got South Lake. I thought they had a lot of good data in there, and at least it was something that we could, that if we're gonna change our parking counts, we need to have data to back it up. It's like, yeah. So, I liked what they did with residential. Because these are just minimums, right? People can always add more.
Another good reference point, even though it doesn't apply to us, is the SB 5184. And those, that applies, I think, to areas or cities from 30,000 or more. And you can see that there's like those requirements are a fraction of what, their minimums are a fraction of what we have. So it's a good reference point for people that are protesting that they're too.
Yeah.
That be like, here's this other data point, if we're a bigger city, and like, so.
And I think they did a good job, like showing, they compared us to some bigger cities and then some comparable cities.
Yeah.
So they did take a lot of data into consideration. I just think we need to address, like, some of this stuff in the table. We'll have to tweak to make it match our district use chart.
Yeah.
Which we,
Our categories need to be fixed anyways.
but that might be something that we're like, I can take some of the feedback I got from you guys to the district use chart and kind of clean that up a little bit. As we, because everything we're gonna just, like, it makes sense, but yeah. Or consolidate, right? We were talking about consolidation, right?
And then also, you're talking about part of this process is that parking is based like on the district use chart and not the random categories that it currently is.
Yeah,
It's just a good direct, like, here is the district use chart, here's the parking requirement
yeah,
for each. Yeah.
yeah, I like it more of the Google format, because the way it is right now, if you were to look at 1412 or whatever it is just paragraph form, like A, B, it's like residential, it's not clear and concise.
Yeah.
So I think using kind of their recommendations and then looking at our use chart and kind of lining them up, that work for you guys. Like our district use chart is still gonna have like resident or I don't know, say single family, it's a single family ADU duplex, it still breaks out all those uses in each zone. But on here, it's just saying general residential, and we'll probably have a definition for what general residential means. It means single family ADU duplexes, triplexes, all residential units with the exception of co-living.
Yeah.
Maggie, you had a question about the difference between athletic club and health
Yeah.
fitness club.
Yes.
I have that actually.
And
So an athletic club also includes, includes racket courts, saunas, pools, and social areas. So I guess Club West.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Yeah, they have bracket clubs right there.
Racket, there's a social area, there's the TV area.
They have social areas.
Sketchy sauna.
Yeah, that's one of the sketchiest saunas ever.
Oh, it is not that sketchy.
You don't think so?
I think so.
so you said
So our athletic club,
So we have enough.
so it's
So good.
supposed to include like, it has like more area to use, so the area calculation is different, because it has like courts.
Okay.
So it's, so you're,
Alright.
one person is using up more area, so
Right.
that's why. area
You
calculation.
just have two people and maybe four people.
Exactly, so it's just accommodating for that.
Versus the health fitness club, which is
Which
like.
is like a-
You could have to be packed in there.
How
More
much
or less.
is, I like that, Jim, okay.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
That's helpful. So that was a fitness. Yeah, okay.
So there might be things we're missing that, and I'll try to just. Match them up the best I can, but do you feel pretty comfortable with? I mean, I know I'm pushing a lot on you and it's very last minute, but like overall.
Hey, we got 6 months. Okay.
Okay, this can always change, if I start with it and I come, or is there something you wanna tackle it? This is kind of your expertise.
Oh, gosh, yeah, parking, yay. No, I don't wanna tackle, there's nothing that,
It's so fun.
I'm not, I mean, I think it'd be interesting to know what. And I'm not gonna do all this work and don't want anybody to have to, but I'm just, hypothesizing if there's places where we would be. Currently be deficient or way over,
They did-
see what it feels like.
They did kind of summarize that.
Oh, they did, okay,
Yeah.
I didn't get that in my scan,
Sorry,
no worries.
they do a rate comparison.
Yeah.
There's
that's
a rate on where we are, but not the, what is actually built. Right,
Oh, yeah, like an
Okay.
analysis of parking.
so things that like we currently have, like, I don't think we're building another elementary school anytime soon, so it probably doesn't matter, but,
Oh, you mean like where parking has been overbuilt?
Or
Based.
or underbuilt,
Based
over or under, and if it's overbuilt, that's potential opportunity to change, and how does that sit with us and feel versus.
I mean, I like Port Townsend's approach, like, like, we just
Well,
What is their approach?
there isn't any,
kill minimums, yeah, just get jump.
Because of
I
parking
like
issues.
that, but they don't have the snow issue.
That's true.
Yeah, but,
They have a hell issue.
there's a city in New York. That got rid of parking minimum, Buffalo, I think Buffalo got rid of parking minimum.
So it was no problem.
They've got a bigger snow problem than we
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, they sure do.
Were you guys able to kind of, I know I didn't do code, but I kind of put that memo, like just summarize some of the changes that are required. What are your feelings about P and Lou? I'm gonna leave that up to council on determining the fee, because that's not something you all do.
But it
But,
has to be in
yeah.
there.
what,
It has to be in the conversation. It has to be
Yeah.
something.
I think,
oh, you discussed, yeah,
Yeah.
but I think they need to help us figure out how they want that determined.
Yeah, but we should, I don't know, come up with a range or something.
or do we come up with
We don't
a way that it's determined, which is kind of a real estate question,
Yes,
like what is the value of a parking space?
that's exactly right. That's
And the
that's
cost to
actually-
provide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's also, I mean, we have direct ideas of what value the parking spaces are by the idea of what it costs to build X amount of units parking space here on the grounds of Leavenworth. And even if that's a crazy high number,
Well-
$70,000 a stall or whatever it might be, that's a fantastic place to start. And then fee and lieu of can be a percentage of what we know to be the cost of
Yeah.
parking stall in the commercial area, or just the cost of a parking stall in general. And we could also, and there's 10 different ways to calculate it. I'm just saying, like, if we could come up with the idea of how the calculation is made, then the city can put a number on it, or the council could put a number on it, and
Yeah.
then. But it's gotta be something that,
And yeah,
for better.
What we got tripped up on last time is the cost of the land.
It is in the reverse estimation,
Nice,
land acquisition finance.
right, but there was a little disagreement about whether or not it should. That's my recollection, I could be wrong.
So Simon, can I reach out to you to maybe try to figure out how to come up with, and we are doing our parking garage study.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Drew.
Yeah, I just wanted to tack on to Colin's comment that, yeah, we brought this up a few years ago and it felt like there was a lot of consternation on the subject, but I think it might be a little bit more approachable now. But yeah, Buffalo was the first major city to do it, and then it was adopted by Minneapolis, and more recently Austin, Denver, Chicago. So you're seeing major cities all see the positive rewards of this, and I think that it's really behooves us to take a look at this, because it's very costly and it's one of the biggest cost factors, especially when it comes to multifamily living. So would love to bring that back up.
and do the other cities that have done this have examples we can look at of how they calculated the value of the park space?
I have never looked into it, but
Yeah, I mean, I recall Buffalo having really good data of showing it actually there was a short-term reduction in building cost. I'm not sure how much of that passed through. You could prove that, but I think that was the basis for the other cities to hop on board with it, is that there was some pretty good data that showed there was some positive impact.
Someone wanna volunteer to come up with a way to do it?
Yeah, I'll
Number?
do it,
Yeah.
I mean, I'll give you guys multiple ideas of what you should calculate it, but I don't know the apartments are.
You promised to come up with how to calculate it.
Perfect,
Right?
I can give us multiple ideas of different ways to do it and show with examples, no problem. Do you guys want that by next meeting? Or
Yeah, awesome.
prior to that? Cause I don't wanna, if I do it at a meeting, then we're already in a public meeting, if I share with you, I'll have to do it separately, however, but.
As if you do it before.
We don't discuss it.
In the packet,
Yeah, I can
No, we can look at
send it to
it.
everybody separately, that's fine, no problem.
yeah.
Yeah, or maybe you could send it to Celeste or Maggie and
They can
Yes,
disseminate,
do
that's
that, or
perfect.
send it to me,
Deal.
or Maggie, or both of us.
Done.
Yeah. Awesome.
We discussed it exactly a year ago,
The parking?
and we were called leaders in an AI law article, hilarious.
Citizen.
Then our leaders discuss fees.
Leaders.
Well, that might have been, actually, we talked about it at a joint council and commission meeting. And then it was the council that were the leaders.
Oh, yeah, just there.
Meetings were just there.
Amanda has her hand up.
Details.
Yes, Amanda.
Amanda.
Hey, I think that Strong Towns, which is a nonprofit organization that does planning issues, they did some sort of a study around the cost of parking. And I'm pretty certain that it's on their website, but I'd have to go search for it. But that would also be another resource because they look at multiple cities all over the US. And that Strong Towns.
Yeah.
Thanks, Amanda.
And parking mandates and subsidies.
Yeah, they're really in favor of getting rid of parking mandates. So I think they've done their own studies, but that is definitely their bias. I will definitely bring that to your attention is that is their bias. But I know that they did some studies.
Does anybody here want to entertain, discuss the idea of like eliminating parking minimums?
I do,
I
Yeah.
would love to.
at least to put it in the record about why. or why
And
not.
do we think that it is worth having us discuss it because would the city council have any interest in moving that forward?
No.
Because if they're gonna be like.
That's where I don't know that we want to spend too much time on it, but I think it's important
Yeah.
to.
I mean, is that something we could put on the docket though, like as a
Yeah, so
separate issue for the future?
I guess for development regs, like,
You know, hey, we got a parking garage, now can we?
I know, we've also talked a lot about fee and lieu, and if we were like, no more parking minimums, then we couldn't do a fee and lieu, like it wouldn't. So it would, that whole project would be moot, so I guess we can say. For now, we put all this work into. Or, this consultant has put all this work into what. The numbers should be, and we'll come up with the fee and lieu thing. And then I think maybe eliminating. Minimums might be gradual over time, zone by zone consideration, rather than like,
Blanket.
never mind, we're done.
Yeah. That might.
Does that
support
seem-
that.
Logical.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Cool. So, what time is it? It's 8 o'clock. Do we want to, do we have more to talk about with parking right now? Or it seems like we have, like, we'll wait till we have a nice table to review. That is actually based on our. District use chart and how the fee is calculated. So I don't think we have much more there. Do we wanna go back to B and B stuff and talk about? Item 3,
Yeah, I was hoping to touch on that.
yeah, pre-approved plans.
Oh,
I'd like to get rid of number 3.
me too.
I'm there with that. I mean, my neighbor at 103 West Commercial is kind of proof of the fact that, you know, sometimes living in Leavenworth and ownership here might necessitate that extra income, and waiting 5 years to generate that doesn't seem fair is a terrible word to use, but equitable for all parties involved. They're all available, people available to do. So I don't like 3 personally, but that's just.
Yeah, I think, I mean, my understanding is that. The city council said, well. People are. Like the city paid. To have Syndicate Smith develop these pre-approved plans, and then people are getting this great discount on their plan set. And so why should they get to take advantage of that? By turning it into a B&B, and I'm kind of like, what difference does it really make? Like, you're still paying so much to build structure, like, yeah, does it really matter?
And the city made the plans available to kind of make housing, boost housing and also make it quicker. And
Yeah.
the type of housing
Yeah.
it creates, that's a tough thing to adjudicate, I feel like.
Yeah.
Especially in a place like Leavenworth, right? I mean, and so I feel, I just say that, so.
Yeah, I think, I. Would not like to add any language about that and just. ADUs built with pre-approved plans are treated just like any other ADU.
I agree.
4% applies to all our housing, whether or not, I guess that's the other thing, is like
It's
the
like
4%.
maxed out
You know, we just
anyway.
talked about how the 4% applies to like kind of a random array of housing. And not necessarily even our total housing stock, or it doesn't apply exactly to houses that could be and. You know, anyway, so like.
And the calculation will always be far from perfect, so there's gonna be some sort of deviation.
There just has to be
So
interpretation.
these get counted just like any other house.
So I would say, I don't know if it'll matter. I think quite a few of the city council members were interested in this. Maybe if we say how many of the planning commission members want to get rid of it, like if we're like, oh, it's, you know, like nobody on planning commission
Yeah.
thinks this makes sense, that might have some
What
weight.
is the intent of it? Yeah, the intent seems.
Am I don't know, but like, am I right to think that the intent of it was that the housing committee who came up with this idea thought that it would be a really good idea for infill housing, a very specific type, but that got broad brush and they don't like it, and so is that why they requested the moratorium from the city and from the council, and then the council has tasked us with coming up with some sort of verbiage?
I think that this that hasn't been used for any other housing, right?
Yeah, I think
Right.
that like the majority of the pre-approved plans have been turned into B&Bs.
Yep.
And that doesn't feel fair.
But making
because-
it not allowed for those doesn't make it better for the
Yeah.
others, right? Like.
And I think what we have to remind the council, and something that we've done, that we did in the past for a little while, we kind of tried this out, was we would try to write like a brief memo, like from the planning commission, in addition to the staff report, when this goes to the council. And say like, this is why we made our decision, like if we felt like it was counter to what they had asked for. So I feel like this is an instance where it might be good if we write a memo and say like, yes, like. You know, the planning commissioners agreed. You know, ask Amanda and Drew if they agree, and you know, if everybody kind of wants to sign on to this, but how's like. B&Bs are viewed. A lot of people have a lot of hard feelings toward B&Bs, but the reason that the code is written the way that it is, and the reason that we allow it at all is so that people can afford to live in their home in Leavenworth, because people sometimes need a source of additional income to live in Leavenworth because it's very expensive. And so like.
Not only that, but this protects additional, if you build a new unit, you're protecting existing stock.
Yeah, and it's like all
Yes,
housing is
because we have.
good housing, because essentially like. Any way that you expand the housing stock is overall beneficial to the housing situation.
And the market wants to dictate what that housing stock is gonna be used for and how it's gonna be used. And the owners are probably going to try and find the highest and best use at any given time, especially when the market is so expensive or the overall cost of living is so expensive. So to try to dictate for what years or how long you might be able to use this as one use, and then, yeah, I mean, it just seems like, yeah, again, adjudicating that seems over the top and unnecessary, especially when, you know.
They put stress on staff too, I think
That's a good call. A lot of extra stuff here on the city, a lot of dates that have to be held strong to and looked over, that it just seems necessary.
That, right, like, okay, well, how long ago?
And
Permitting.
my biggest question would be, can someone, I mean, obviously it doesn't exist, but is there a cost benefit analysis for this 5-year period as well? Like the use of that, of housing stock for what is deemed the correct use for a 5-year period before it's allowed?
It's an arbitrary.
And I think it was very arbitrary, I think someone just thought.
5 years sounds good.
Well, and if we use 5 years, then that probably will mean that they would never apply for the permit, or the permits would expire.
Right.
Or people would do
They'd
other
forget about
things, then forget about it, and the market would change.
Gotcha.
But the market will never quite change, there'll always be pressure, but most like Airbnb growth, so that's something I really wanna put in this memo, if we're gonna draft something. Like our rate of application and our total count by year, it's not exploding, like it's not about it.
And even if we were fully maxed out, the entire number versus the housing stock at 4% is very low. I mean, it's very low, and I don't know.
Yeah,
just
that's a really low number.
Very low.
Yeah, and I mean, I live right next to one of these things, a brand new one just got built, and it's no problem at all, you know what I mean? It has no effect on residential neighborhood, at least from what I can see at all, and its occupancy rate seems to be pinging. It's always got a fresh car parked there.
Yeah.
And it's great, I mean, I see no issues with it, so. Where's?
You should want it behind the zone.
103, yes, it's on, it's 103 West Commercial.
103, oh yeah.
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 Yeah. Sweet views.
Little, I mean, she has it just perfectly done. It's just
Yeah,
awesome.
sits on the back of her lot.
Exactly,
There's
right.
that weird dead space anyway.
Yep. I think that these are, I mean, I, from what I can see, they're hyper beneficial, and it allows her to live in love.
And
Simon's
The-
also.
amount,
Hand it to me. I can implement it.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know, I mean, you're probably saving. I don't know, 15 to 20,000 maybe by. Using a pre-approved plan instead of getting new plans. I don't know, anywhere from 10 to 30,000, I mean, it varies, but like. You could make that much. You could make that much in a year on a long-term rental or a short-term rental, I think. So. So I'm kind of like, what's 5 years even mean? Like,
If that's just an arbitrary number, it wasn't thought of, it just seems like, this whole thing seems a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to a use that wasn't in line with maybe the idea of how it was originally planned. But, you know, original plans, and then you do something like this and you open it up to the open market, and we've seen.
Let's lead our memo with the kind of prime example of like where how many of these have been built? I think 5% of the pre-approved ones.
And I would also posit the question, have there been any complaints about B&Bs to the city? Because I live on a street with 2 of them, and it's quite the opposite of an issue, and I'm in a residential area, so.
Yeah, Amy would know that, cause she receives those, and we don't. Nothing, no.
So I mean, I understand, I guess I understand some concern about what an overabundance of Airbnbs could do to a residential neighborhood. totally, but I mean, the fact that we have strict regulations about them, it feels like this is almost
Feels like
a
it's working.
non-issue. Yeah.
The biggest concern is usually when they're being applied for, whether there's questionable. Ownership or how they're actually living there, some people rather.
That's totally fair. I can absolutely get that.
But that's, I've not received any, concern. And I really think that this issue just came to the forefront because one person walked into the housing advisory committee and complained.
Yeah,
It wasn't like a group of people.
that's fair. It just,
Yeah, and I think it came about very much because of perceptions of fairness
Yeah.
and should. Yeah, I think there was some concerns about the intent of the RFP for, you know, the intent of having the pre-made plans done and also the fairness of like people are essentially saving, like the city spent money and that is then money saved by a resident building this, so should they get to make more money off of it? And I'm like, it's kind of irrelevant.
it's super relevant because if that saved money could also be looked at as the city was trying to figure out a way to increase housing stock faster. And this is a way that absolutely does that. It skips this fee for the homeowner, but it also skips a lot of time wasted in the stuff, and it also skips administrative time wasted as well. So, I mean, cities probably made that, they're going to make that back, or hopefully even just the time saved and the ease of.
But it's much easier to review the plans, because you already know it.
Yeah.
I was gonna say,
You just have to look at the site plan, you don't have to look at that.
Yeah.
Right,
Setbacks are checked, everything's checked.
yeah,
High five, go for it. I mean,
Yeah.
that's-
it's
There's-
very easy review.
See, so it feels like this is beneficial for the city. I understand where you're coming from in looking at it like that from the community perspective, but feels like a non-issue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody here seems to be on the same page. Amanda, Drew, do you have any final thoughts on this?
Nope, I'm good.
Good from my side. Thank you.
I can work on a little memo. And send it out so you guys can. Check them. Edit it.
That works for me. Thank you, Allison.
Works for me to not doing work either.
Thanks, Alan.
Okay, do we wanna go through the co-living?
Yeah.
Real quick, that's more.
Did you guys all get one of these, or no? I don't know if you,
Okay.
Wait, but this
this one is the one I wrote, so they don't, Amanda and Drew don't have this. This co-living,
What's in the packet?
it was not, cause I wrote this yesterday. So.
Okay.
I just took the state code and. It's very simple, that one. And hopefully, it should meet all the RCWs. I talked to the video one Nancy, because they spent some time on this and like was very. Yeah, it was a little, it's more difficult than it looks, it's like half a page, but. Okay. And then the other one is affordable low income housing incentives, that's just. It has to be done because of state requirements, like we cannot. Require affordable housing to have different design standards from regular housing, that's just, it's not legal to do that, so we have to repeal that section. And I just added something in here. That was recommended. By Department of Commerce.
Under.
It's like EP 42040, there's a little red section. So those, I mean, you probably wanna look at them. Before, I don't know if you wanna discuss it now, or if you wanna think at home and read it, and then of course I need to send it to. I could probably send it to Drew and Amanda. Now. Oh, we could screen share it, yeah.
That recommended section is.
Oh, God, you.
Yeah.
That's so not good at that. Always bring it, take me. Well, you know.
I know, it's, I need my glasses.
Okay. Big show.
So that like. this bit in 040 that's just straight out of RCW?
No, I got that first, yes, actually it is, it is,
Okay.
yeah.
You could do a whole bunch of studio low income units and then do 2-bedroom rental units.
Right. But I mean, that's referring to like within the development. So you're
Yeah.
saying,
I believe that's correct,
so if you have like.
but also
Studios
together.
for units and for affordable, you can't be like, only the studios are affordable.
That's exactly right, and
Yeah,
you also
that
can't
makes
say,
sense.
well, we're only renting out studios and only the large units are affordable. Either it has to be
Right,
in
right.
proportion to the entire unit, which is very interesting, like, why?
Why? Market pressure would determine that a studio would be priced lower anyway, so like,
This is precise, right, this is exactly what I'm saying, these are words that just talk, you know?
But I also, I mean, if that's what.
If that's what it says,
Yeah.
just put it in there, I'm cool with it, it's just.
It also has phrases like, to the extent practicable.
Yeah.
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 Typical.
You understand?
You shall, to the best of your ability. Yeah. Okay.
It's like stairs in an existing. When you're remodeling an existing house, they're like, the stairs must comply with current code to the greatest extent feasible.
Yeah.
Which sometimes is not at all.
Yeah, you're like, oh, actually, my trends that are gonna be completely different, but, you know, great.
Yeah.
There you go, so there's that. Formal incentives, if you're talking about that right now.
Yeah.
The stuff,
The next
the
page.
design standards that are repealed, actually, the A sort of. It was the same as this, yeah. Less wishy-washy.
That's. I remember when we went through that and I was like, why is this only applying
To affordable housing.
Yeah,
So great, we
That's great.
deleted it all.
Yep.
Wonderful.
you did a lot of work on
And
it.
sometimes it's nice when things are statutory required.
and this storage thing,
That's state.
it was like, this is the right storage.
Okay. Well,
So that
Stop
was
with that.
nothing easy.
Agreed.
All right, let me see, let me.
But.
co-living, I think, is a little
Very
hard.
hard, yeah, oh, shoot, it's, what did I do, let me try this again. Sorry. I closed it out, there we go. There is the co-living. Section, that we need to add to our code. So it needs to say something like this, of course, the wording can be slightly different, or if you think of something that you feel like needs to be in here. That's not in here,
My biggest concern was that the sleeping unit, how we define the sleeping unit
Yeah.
in F, because that's gonna be key.
Yeah,
Because
we
how
are
it's currently
changing
defined
that.
doesn't make sense, so as
No.
long as that gets clarified, that was my only concern.
yeah, so we're taking the definition of the sleeping unit right out of the RCW and just basically copying that, and then we have to delete. What we have in our code now and change the name of that to, like, if Megan and I were talking about using a guest room. Instead of sleeping unit for the
Hotels.
yeah. Because we need to, it still needs to be clear that we can't have, 50 people in one parking spot, but I think that's where that code came from.
Yeah, that was a complicated because it was like, well, is the sleeping unit different than a guest suite that has multiple rooms?
Mhm.
Well, but
So we'll have to change those definitions, and that was something
Yeah.
we were working on a bit today, but it's like it's all over the place, right? And so it's difficult.
We have to change sleeping unit because look at the code for, where's the code for, hotel. Look up our,
Yeah, it
definition
says
for a
we're gonna
hotel.
delete that and call it something else. Like. I don't know what to say. A, oh my gosh.
yeah. Where is that definition?
yeah,
Yeah.
looks slightly newer than also.
It actually doesn't function, yeah, it doesn't function as well.
No, we have to remove it. Because obviously they won't go together, like the definition of sleeping in the hotel section doesn't match.
Yeah, that's the.
Well, there's the RCW has dimensional standards for sleep.
No, it doesn't.
Nope,
It has to be the size of that building code, like the minimum size of building.
Oh, like just, it has to be like 70 square feet.
the problem is, we just need to update our hotel one.
It to count as a bedroom.
Got it,
in the-
okay, perfect.
We define sleeping.
Yeah, so including, means a group of rooms including sleeping units comprised of a lodging unit. A sleeping unit is defined as a single bed, 2 twin bunk beds, or 2 queen beds.
And we're going to remove
That's
that
an
whole
R
thing.
code, we need to remove that and.
We'll redo it.
Because we also have lodging unit, an individual
Yeah.
room or group of interconnected rooms intended for sleeping that are for renters by guests.
Yeah, that's.
Individually designated by number.
Defines the unit. That's the problem.
So parking, so right now, all the.
Well, they're different.
Okay, let's not talk over each other, because it's gonna be super hard for German. Amanda to hear what's going on.
Can we created a definition for lodging unit. Which is different than the sleeping unit. And can we just maintain our definition of lodging unit where we need to refer to hotels when it comes to like parking and whatever?
Yeah, so I have started to rewrite that today, but it was, like I said, it just, like, it goes down the rabbit hole, like, it's like, you went out of all these different sections, but we were. Well,
But it's like
mix it and bring it to you.
Yeah.
Like, the definitions, we're gonna rewrite them, for those specific things for co-living, and sleeping units. Like we're gonna get rid of,
But I said lodging unit.
yeah, and I
And
just
takes
delete
care of
that,
that
but
hotel
then,
problem.
yeah, we could, we could use that, maybe, I'll have to look at it.
If we can't, cause that's the thing I'm wondering is like, can we not use?
Oh,
We changed the definition of sleeping unit because it was problematic. When applied to hotels. In terms of building code and parking and
Yeah,
size and all of that. But we have,
so this sleeping unit will have a different definition, we'll delete the old one, replace it with.
With this one that's
Then-
specific to co-living, because it's gonna be the only one that allows this parking. This is like a gear
Yes.
tag parking, right?
Yes, the only.
It's the one-off parking.
Yeah.
Cause it's
Yeah.
not, it has nothing to do with any other parking code that we allow or
yeah,
will
so we
allow.
have to pull the use of sleeping unit out of anything. related
That's
to
exactly right,
hotel.
it has to be specific to,
And that needs to be a lot.
I don't think we have anything else related to sleeping unit.
No, it's just a section in that, like the
Just
hotel.
suite hotel and motel.
Yeah.
So all you have to do
Yeah.
is shim in means a group of rooms comprising of like and redefine lodging units slightly, and then we just shim lodging unit in.
Yeah, I don't think we need to like define all the beds, we just say that
No,
it's for people, something, right?
We don't even need
We
to,
don't even
because
need to say that, yes.
the sleeping unit isn't used anywhere else.
and you don't need to find the
No.
occupancy of sleeping unit, do you?
No,
Like, all you need to say is a group of, yeah, a group of rooms. That
it's
include,
not a good definition.
Okay,
well, a group of,
definition of sleeping unit.
Sleeping unit is defined
It's
as a single
defined in
bed,
the
2 twin
RCW.
bunk bed, oh, and.
Nah.
like, RCW is a separate, it's,
The code,
independently rented and lockable, provide living and sleeping space.
with shared facilities,
Lacking complete independent living facilities.
Yes. Something has to be shared, kitchen, bathroom, something like that.
So it can you use, does that definition work for a hotel?
Yeah, there's no reason why it doesn't.
They define it separately though.
What?
No, wait, no.
No, they
it
don't,
says
sleeping
hotel.
unit.
Sorry. Is legally defined as a dwelling unit, and a hotel room is not legally defined as a dwelling unit.
But is a dwelling room legally defined as a lodging house?
Yeah,
A dwelling unit
do
is-
you have a definition of a hotel room or a lodging unit or some other?
So, yeah, that's a good, and I haven't looked at the RCW for that, but what we did. Think about doing was removing lodging unit and replacing it with guest room, which would say. room or suite of rooms within a hotel, motel, inn, or similar transient lodging establishment intended for the occupancy
Yeah, that's fine.
by one guest party.
Wonderful.
Why don't we snap the lodging unit, that's the RCW definition.
So,
Self-contained unit or group of interconnected rooms intended for sleeping and rented to transient guests typically designated by a number or letter and may include areas for cooking and eating.
That's what we have in Leavenworth's code for
Yeah.
lodging unit.
Yeah.
yeah,
Except that we don't have the word transient in there.
Maybe that's the key.
Because that's the difference.
That's
One
probably
you're
the
living
key.
there,
It's
one
like,
you're.
we have lodging unit, the definition is really close to the RCW, that applies to hotels, etc. And then sleeping unit is fairly specific.
just for co-living. So lot
Has to be.
co-living.
It needs
And
to be.
then, yeah,
That
and
way
then
the
you're,
parking will be specific to that and it'll work.
well, maybe that's not so hard.
I mean, as much as possible, it'd be great for our definitions, just reference.
I agree. We take a
Yeah,
lot of
that's cool.
extra out of our, searching around our website to try to find what we're trying to say. As
Which definition are we using?
just, what about a hyperlink to the RCW in the definition?
Lodging unit is defined RC, in
We don't-
RCW and a WAC.
Yeah, that is periodically done. I mean,
Space for under 30 days. Yeah,
yeah,
3 or more
our,
units under 30 days.
our lodging unit definition looks like it basically got pulled out of our experience. That's great. A little bit of it.
Wait, sleeping unit. People sleep can improve provisions for living, eating in either sanitation or but kitchen facilities, but not both. What?
Yeah, so you can,
So it can't
because
be-
a self-contained unit would have both kitchen facilities and sanitary facilities, like a bathroom. But these, the co-living, you can't have all of those in your one unit.
That, but it
Yeah,
doesn't
I
have to
can
be.
have a full kitchen in
If you have a full kitchen and a bathroom, then it's an apartment.
It's not
It's
living in it.
Yeah, got it.
But if you
And
only
also
had,
studio.
It's a dwelling unit.
like if you had a shared bathroom with your neighbor. and
There's
you
the
each
dwelling
had a
unit,
kitchenette.
sleeping unit, and lodging unit. Those are all the 3 different definitions.
Okay,
There you go.
we probably just need to accept it, like,
We
take
can
those,
do that.
And those are all defined
Yep.
in state code.
yes, that's cool.
And we also need to get rid of, so our definition of family is outdated and also not legal. Because
Oh, yeah, let's not define family.
Related to the people in
Can
your
we
house.
not find?
Not more than 5 people. Yes, you're supposed to get rid of one of your children.
Not more than 5
Like,
people.
it's
This is-
not allowed.
I don't know when it was written, but that's what it said.
Delete.
I believe that.
No, it is in, look at our definitions of family.
Oh my gosh, that's so embarrassing.
It's not great.
I feel like
Thank you for loving that.
It was on my, I took it, we copied it and pasted it, and I was like,
Oh no, it does, it says an individual or 2 or more persons related by blood or marriage. Or a group of not more than 5 persons who are not all related.
Yeah.
You can have the biggest family you want, but you can't have a whole bunch of more than 4 of your friends.
No chosen family.
God.
Right, yeah.
No.
Oh, you can have chosen family, just 4, you and 4
Only
others.
4.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Another arbitrary.
It's just like, it's gonna enforce that anyway.
That's what I said, we knocking on doors, like, hey, just checking out how many folks there is.
Yeah, where is your marriage certificate?
You guys married?
Oh my god.
I actually, my first protest, attendance at a city council meeting was to protest exactly the law limiting the 5 unrelated people from living in a house, because I was part of a college group house and like, and all of a sudden we were gonna become the legal residents of.
I've heard of that. I remember that came up, got big in the news.
Why do we have this definition in the code?
To prevent party houses,
Yeah.
probably. There was
Yeah,
probably one
I
house
remember
with
it.
one big party and somebody didn't like it,
Yeah.
would be my guess.
It became a thing at some college town.
Yeah,
This isn't a college town.
no, but it's a ski town.
It would be sort of to the villages, but.
Yeah, too many. labels.
No, I showed you that.
It exists, yeah.
No, I'm like,
This
I
code
see
is written.
five.
How's the design doesn't?
Yeah, I must, I don't know what it's written, but it's definitely about.
It's always 5 or 6. Yeah. That was illegal. It was terrible for the next time. Anyway,
Okay. What else do we have in co-living? We sorted out our. The sleeping unit definition, and that leads into parking, which again,
If, as long as we sort out the one, then the parking will be specific to that, and it won't be an issue
Yeah,
at all.
it'll be fine.
Yep,
The,
with
my,
one fixes the.
my only question, and I don't wanna get too in the weeds on this, but I don't think there's a legal definition of kitchenette. But can we use a reasonable, like, kitchenette versus a kitchen?
What's the right definition of them?
I looked in the WAC.
The way that, the way that local places usually do it is, how many of an items that create a kitchen you're allowed in your kitchenette. So your kitchenette can have a hot plate with a refrigerator and a sink, no problem. Your kitchenette can have, some combination of that, but if your kitchenette has, oven and range and refrigerator and a sink, then it's technically a full kitchen. So I don't,
Where's that?
it seems like we
Is it
could
a
get.
real estate?
It might be actually in the real estate, it might be in the real estate dictionary, I can look that.
so,
up.
okay, let me.
I just wanna make sure there's something that people
But,
actually.
but it's so in the weeds, because like, what is, I mean, the hot plate is arranged technically.
Yeah.
Just,
That
but
is-
it's not installed.
Where, yeah, normally a range is considered the threshold.
Okay.
If it has a range, it's a dwelling unit, but that is not,
But there's all this stuff
In
you
the
could have a
code.
convection oven that you plug in.
because the code, a dwelling unit. Means it has permanent provisions for living, sleeping, eating, cooking, and sanitation. And so for some reason, like permanent provisions for cooking. Just is considered a range, but it's not in any definition that I know of. And
And
so Chelan County was like, we want to just decide willy-nilly what we think an ADU is, so they changed their definition of a dwelling unit to something very unconventional, which is basically like if it has the potential to maybe be a dwelling unit, then we can decide if it is.
we had so many people playing the game of, oh, this is an extra unit, but when you came out, I removed the range from the extra unit, and so you guys can't classify it as an extra unit, and so, like, I as a real estate appraiser, I've seen the games played, and so I feel like that's probably what they're trying to get around, is being gamed, because when you have the hard definition like that, then people are just like, oh, okay.
Yeah, they're like, no, this is just a bonus room over the garage with a bathroom and a separate entrance.
Amanda has a question.
Amanda.
So we had a similar issue in Douglas County with pool houses. So folks were trying to build a pool house. They would set up a bedroom and they would set up a kitchenette. And there would also be a bathroom in there with a shower. And by our definition, that was an ADU, which means that they had to have a separate address. We got pushback on that, and the developer ultimately removed the kitchenette. And so we didn't have to assign an address to it. But that's something that I've seen.
So, but is there a definition anywhere, like how? Why does everyone agree that it's the range that makes it a kitchen?
If that's
I don't-
common convention, I don't
It
think
is
we need to
common convention.
overthink it, I just wanna make sure that we're.
Yeah, yeah, I guess, in light of the county kind of, I mean, they did make a different definition that gave them more flexibility. So I think if we stick with the standard definition, but maybe. Does RCW say kitchenette but not kitchen?
Yes, it's one,
Is
it's
it-
actually in the guideline, the Department of Commerce guidelines. They have the co-living guideline for cities and counties, and it's in there, that's what they.
But they use that phrasing, kitchenette's not kitchen.
Yes,
They
yeah,
define kitchen.
I have
they
a
didn't
question.
define it, but that's what they said.
That'll get us into the weeds. When we permit an ADU, does it have to have a kitchen or a kitchenette? Do you need a range, or is induction burner
I
cooktop
don't think we've ever.
installed okay? So if we're gonna define this, I mean, it's gonna look like you're talking about, it feels like if we're gonna define this as, it's gonna. Really leak
So
into our other
We
stuff.
don't wanna
That's
make it
fair.
harder for people to build stuff, that,
Yeah.
and make it more expensive, so, and we have to think about like the long-term effects of.
I mean, if you call it an ADU, it's an ADU. Like
And-
my own ADU, I was just like, I am choosing to apply for a permit for an ADU. It does not have a range. It has a 2-burner cooktop. But I was like, I
Permit, did they
want,
give you the accessory dwelling unit permit?
I'm seeing a definition as under 80 square feet and excludes fixed 220-volt appliances.
Oh. So,
There's your range.
so that, but that's, because
It could be gas.
the only 220-volt appliances are range, yeah.
Anymore.
Unless you use gas, and then it's
I
not,
know,
because you have no
it's like-
220-volt appliances, so, I mean, there's all sorts of loopholes here.
Yeah, another definition for restricts all size ranges or ovens.
So what if it's a mini oven, like a half size one?
yeah,
I think that's
a
too,
little
okay, I guess.
I feel like that's too,
This is really.
We can split it a lot.
I'm
I feel
just-
like there's a-
I know, I'm just kind of wondering, I feel like if we say may include kitchenettes but not include kitchens, if we use that phrasing, I feel like we have to then define kitchen, kitchenette. Versus if we say, if we go back to the dwelling unit
Yeah, that we just call
and
it,
we use that language that we say it may include. It may not include all of the permanent provisions for cooking.
why don't we just,
Like if we just have
Instead-
to use similar language.
instead of this, why can't we just, instead of defining this for sleeping units, this is just a clarification, we just reference the RCW, which defines like,
Which then then references its own definitions.
yeah. Which is what we have.
Mhm.
Anyways, like, I think we could just delete this. And this is just a clarification, it's like a. But it doesn't serve anything, it doesn't need to be in our code, I mean, it's a.
Yeah, and there needs to be no minimum too, because for co-living, you can just have a room and share bathroom and kitchen, right?
Because it's just like FYI, you can have a kitchenette.
Yeah, but it says they may not include kitchens.
Which is which is
sleeping
in
unit may not include
which is what's in the RCW too, right? I mean, I
But I
don't
mean,
think it's.
if we were just referencing the RCW, then we don't have to do any of this, but it's like we have to put something in there. So that it's like explicit in our code, right?
We need to have a definition of sleeping unit, but that definition should just reference. Like, is there anything different than what the state defines it as that we would? More restrictive, I mean, we can only be, we can't be more restrictive, can we? Because we have to. Comply with their,
we can't be more restrictive, no, than
Right.
what they had mandated.
exactly,
That's, goes against the whole point.
Part of me is just like. Can we trust staff to just correctly interpret what the kitchen wants to do that?
yeah, but I mean,
The
I
same-
just
the
prefer
same
to
way
make
the
our
language
code as short as
definition.
possible and reference. Cause we already reference the RCW in this, right? And so like, we could even just say sleeping unit is defined in RCW, whatever.
Co-living also, in the checklist they provide, it says it does not require any developmental regulation that is more restrictive than those required. This is more restrictive standard, but.
No, it was in the guidance, it's not more restrictive.
I think the sleeping unit is the primary criteria. Like, so the kitchenette is just an additional definition.
And they can't have
Yeah.
can't have a kitchenette or a full kitchen or at all.
We could also.
Kitchenette, not have a full kitchen, cause it can't be.
You can't have a kitchen in each room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I guess, yeah, I mean, if you
It
just
was in
say,
an apartment building,
Exactly.
and which is already allowed. So like,
And also, and if
it doesn't
the
really matter.
kitchen was in there, it would have to be permitted, so what would be the big deal anyway?
yeah, that's why I think that this is just like, we don't need to talk about kitchens versus kitchenettes, because either co-living, we're basically saying like, you can have a separate unit that only has a kitchenette instead of a kitchen. That's the difference between.
That's like a sleeping, correct?
Yeah, see, I guess that's the thing, is it goes back to
I-
like, a sleeping unit is separate
A lot
defined from a dwelling unit, like we talked about, we're defining sleeping units. Dwelling units and lodging units, and
Yeah.
those are our three places where
Yeah.
people are allowed to sleep in the city of Leavenworth.
Okay.
Outside?
And like, if it's like co-living means that it is made up of sleeping units. And sleeping units is defined in our code. Per the RCW as. Not providing all of the necessities for.
Right.
Living like a dwelling unit would, it is defined separately, then yeah, then I guess this is redundant. But it just, I'm trying to think. Yeah,
So
yeah, I'm like, where does it say like, a living is made up of sleeping units? Like, I mean, it's kind of silly, but.
It does, well, the
As I say,
definition is, I could read it to you if you want me to. Like the definition from the RCW
Of
of a
co-living,
co-living housing.
Yeah, I have that as well.
okay,
36.78.53.
Well, I mean, I think we can just. We can just have it in one of these sentences here that's, comply with state regulations for co-living housing and the definition of sleeping units under. Which is a collection of sleeping units, which are both defined in RC.
Yeah,
I'm not seeing, so I'm simply not seeing the exclusionary language about kitchenettes or kitchens. This is the state's guidance says like, in-unit kitchen is optional, but in a dwelling unit is required.
well, what I see
Yeah.
here is for the co-living is, it says. And residents share kitchen facilities. It specifically
Yeah.
says that.
Yeah, I think what they wanted to make sure, like, when I was reading the guidance document, I think what they was trying to point out is that it's okay. They don't want us to say, no, you can't have anything in your room, like,
Yeah.
like.
no, but this even says.
This gives a very
This
clear
says,
guide.
yeah, this is really clear, there's a chart on here,
Yeah.
it says sleeping unit, minimum size 70 square feet, dwelling unit, minimum size 190, sleeping unit. In-unit bathroom optional, must have access to shared bathroom if in-unit bathroom is not provided.
And it's-
Dwelling unit, in-unit bathroom required.
And the differentiate, this is the language we're using specifically, which is the sleeping unit may not have both private sanitation and kitchen facilities,
Yeah.
however, kitchenettes may be allowed.
Yeah, they
Which is
can't be
like-
fully contained, or otherwise it would be a dwelling unit, which is also permitted, it just has different
So we,
parking
as
requirements.
minimum square footage.
And square
square
footage,
footage.
and- but also,
Yeah.
but sleeping unit, it says in-unit kitchen optional, must have access to shared kitchen.
So I think it comes back to our sleeping unit, dwelling
See?
unit.
Yeah, so we
Definition.
just need to like make sure that that's clearly defined. When we're talking about sleeping units versus dwelling units.
Yep,
Yes, it must have, yes.
Because
that's
you can't have-
interesting.
you can have a
You
kitchenette.
just have to, you can have a full
You can-
kitchen.
You can have a
Full
kitchen.
kitchen, but you cannot have a bathroom in that same.
Yeah.
Thank you, I apologize.
You can have a bathroom and a kitchenette.
Uh-huh.
If you have a kitchen and no bathroom, you still have to have shared kitchen facilities
Yes.
according to.
And is it a full bathroom or a half bath?
It doesn't say.
Full. Yeah, actually, it's.
It says.
So if you have a toilet and a sink, you can't, I mean, in the real estate world, that's not a full bathroom, you can't, that's not fully sanitary because you can't take a shower in a bathroom like that, so I mean.
Agree.
Yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's what we say in the real estate world, that bathroom is unsanitary for a dwelling unit.
It says bathroom. So,
It's just,
Full.
It doesn't say half that.
Doesn't say have to
it
take,
doesn't
yeah,
access to the bathroom.
bathroom must be full
Yeah.
by default.
Right.
Okay, that's perfect,
I-
great.
Let me stop you really quick, it's 8:52 and they did want a little guidance, I mean, from you guys on the R3, if you have anything that you wanna tell her. But wait, we don't have that much time, and this, we can work on and bring it back to you.
I think,
yeah.
R3, there you go.
Don't.
Is there anything, you
setbacks.
wanna paint the setbacks?
I'd say don't change setbacks, do change the frontage to 30 feet.
And what about, lot coverage? I think it would make sense to me to allow it to be
A higher.
a higher percentage because you're working with less. space.
Yes. Agreed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So higher percentage of lot coverage gets into the green space talk.
Yeah.
And I personally think lot coverage should be maxed out, and we shouldn't look at private property as far as green space coverage is concerned, so I agree that we should lift the minimum number, I just feel like that's a really easy pushback from constituency.
I think you have the same setback. You have the same front setback, and the only green space that your neighbors are interacting with is your front yard, basically. And you have the same front yard.
Okay,
I like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Shrink the back.
yeah, that's fine. And I don't think green space from private property should be, some city puts out there anyway. If people wanna keep their lot green, or they wanna plant trees on it, or they wanna
Make rocks.
cover it in xeriscape. Yeah, you wanna cover it in xeriscape, that's totally, you know what I mean? You should have that fully be able to do what you want there, so.
But for open space, you got your front yard.
Yep.
That's the only part that people can.
And it'll stay the same, so it'll look the same.
Needs the skeletons.
Yes.
Yeah, our house.
I know, I walked by your house, I saw some skeletons.
Yeah, the neighbor started the skeleton wars early.
Yeah, I know, I was like, wow, look at me, that's.
Oh, yeah.
I
The cats.
Okay, hopefully she could draft something out, one of us, we'll work on it, because we're,
The simpler the
Yeah.
better, I think, because then
Yeah.
it'll probably make it easier for us to kind of run it into the flow with council.
Yeah,
I don't know that that's gonna go well, but we're gonna just have to, I mean, they're gonna have to make some hard decisions and. I feel like it's really important that they look at it from a standpoint of not creating barriers for people, I just can't believe they passed the 30-foot height limit, it's just, that to me is so baffling, and today's market. And the way, I just don't, just because someone didn't like some house somewhere in town.
Stepper, yeah.
It's just that kind of response to things, just is. I don't understand it, I guess. I don't understand it. I would love to change that back, but
I know.
honestly, I mean, I feel like that was actually marked, we got marked down for having, that's a barrier that you shouldn't have. Your height limit is way shorter than most.
We did,
jurisdictions.
man, Stephen and I got really deep into the calculations of can we still build a 3-story home? And there was talk about well, if you just make it a straight 30-foot cap as opposed to the 30-foot to the middle of the gable. And we were like, you have to go to the center of the gable because then you could fit a third floor.
Nobody digs down.
Yeah, nobody digs down because then you have to
Dig all the
blow
rock
up
out.
rocks.
If you look at my parents' house and they have all these gorgeous stones all over their property, all of those are from digging that little fine foundation that, I think their basement level is like 920 square feet. All of those rocks came from 920 square feet of excavation, it's like, rocks everywhere, so.
One side of my yard is fill and the other is actually original earth, and the fill side is so easy to dig.
Yeah, clean.
Yes, and then I hit the other side.
My clients was so determined to do a basement. And I was like, well, this group prepared to spend an extra $100,000 blowing up rocks. And he's like, no, it'll be fine. And then he had to destroy a rock himself. But it took him 3 weeks of renting an excavator and all sorts of crazy stuff.
There's a house on Cedar Street.
Yeah.
Is that
Is
him?
that one?
I walked by it the other day, I was like, ooh, cause I used to live 2 doors down. or
Yeah.
3 doors
Is
down.
that there a big hole right now?
Yeah.
Yeah, I walked by that too.
Actually, I shouldn't say it's not completely my plan. I'm not entirely responsible for that project. So don't.
I know.
Don't-
That's on public record.
Don't come out.
I'll say it's her fault, that hole on Cedar Street, her fault. Alright, can I make a motion to close this meeting, or do we?
I think
I second that motion.
all in favor.
Alright.
I.
Meeting adjourned at 8:56. Great work.
Yeah.
Totally, yeah.
Good job. Okay, good stuff. No. Thank you, Drew. Bye, Drew. Bye.
Thank you.
Deirdre.
He's gone. And then just thinking.
Celeste, I'll do my best to have that proposal for fee in lieu of ideas within a week maybe.